There was a debate set up between Ethan Klein and Steven Crowder. Now, both of these are very, very large YouTubers in slightly different fields, but not as different as you might think. So, of course, Steven Crowder is a political conservative commentator. Ethan Klein is a leftist. He's meant to be a leftist comedian, but honestly, I mean, who finds him funny these days?
I thought he was just a YouTuber.
Well, he is, and he used to be slightly kind of normal and would occasionally poke at woke stuff, but then he kind of flipped and has become entirely woke. He sort of subsumed into the leftist Twitter sphere, and that dominates his thoughts, and it's turned him into the kind of person that I'm surprised he's proud to be.
That's weird, because I remember back in the day he used to be defending Count Dankula and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of them on Twitter, like Anthony Fantano, a lot of them, essentially, who are like, oh, this woke stuff's a bit racist, have just gone full woke. And it's like, okay.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Oh, yeah, it's totally disappointing. But it's because of the sort of grooming effect that Twitter is having on them. Because, of course, all the right-wing voices have been deplatformed. Anyway, so the point is that this is important, right? Because millions of people are seeing this, and they're seeing Ethan Klein act in a very deceptive way. Now, I'm not saying that Crowder couldn't have handled himself better. He absolutely could. But the thing is, people have got to remember that these debates are actually a big deal. You've got millions of people watching. Your reputations are on the line. And to have a productive debate that isn't just a slanging match of people shouting over each other, you need to go into them with good faith. How much good faith did Ethan show? Well, not much. So Ethan's position that they were going to debate was that we should essentially uncritically listen to scientists and turn off our brains and do none of our own research. Why? Why would you do that for anything?
I suppose he would argue that they're the experts, therefore they know better than you, who's just Googled something. You know, they've got years in the field. Blah, blah,
Yeah, but there are doctors on both sides of the issue.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the argument.
Yeah, I know, exactly, right? And this Crowder's view is, of course, the opposite, that you should read around the subject and form your own opinion. And so this was meant to be what they were debating, but this is what happened instead. This is Ethan Klein's footage of his debate with with Steven Crowder.
All right. So what we were going to talk about is the initial quote that happened. I think he's looking off there. The initial quote that kind of was turned into a little bit of a meme, which wasn't intentional, and was you saying you don't even have to think about it regarding the CDC. And I disagree with that. I think people should think about it. I believe, and we talked about this through Playful Ribbing, in an aggregation of medical authorities and scientific voices to make an informed and rational decision. So where do you think that I'm wrong on that?
Stephen, do you know that the Spartans are like practice man love with children?
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. What did I tell you? He was going to do anything he could to avoid. Oh, there he is. Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
You,
I had no idea this was going to happen. I thought Ethan was a stand-up guy. This is where we are. Yeah, I told Dave. Remember I told you? I said this is. I guarantee you, he's going to do anything he can to avoid the debate.
Oh, I just think he believes that he should debate you.
No, he doesn't. He just takes advantage of women with mental health issues. Ethan Klein doesn't stand up and do his own
I
fighting.
gotta say,
It's just hilarious. Let's bring on FM.
You would do anything to avoid talking to me. I think the point that you made
Yes,
at the beginning of
Joe
this
Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan and Ben
Rubin
and Dave
Ben
Rubin and
Shapiro.
Jordan Peterson and Noam Chomsky and Sam Harris. Everyone's been avoiding.
And not just a
Right, so you can see what's happened there, and the one thing I don't understand is why Crowder is so upset by this. But as you can see, Ethan Klein has set up this debate, and he's allowed some commentator called Sam Cedar in. Now, Sam Cedar is not very popular. He's got 1 million subscribers. We have 10,000 views a video, so it's essentially a dead channel until he does like big drama like this. And so he's gained a reputation for being perpetually bad faith. And so this is why Steven Crowder was like, well, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, none of them are going to talk to you because you seem like a snake. And so Ethan decided that this would be a good way to set up the debate between Crowder and Sam Cedar. And this was their reaction when when Crowder eventually is like, well, I'm not going to have the debate with you, and cuts off the call. This is their reaction from Ethan's stream.
Wow. Wow. Dude, I can't believe he admits to following.
He admitted that he followed the show last week.
We got him.
He admitted that he last
We
week.
got
We went
him.
early.
Dude, we played him so hard because he literally was following. He saw that you went live, dude. We fucking got him.
Oh my God, we fucking nailed him.
Holy shit.
That's so weak and pathetic and childish. That's a genuinely embarrassing reaction. I mean, like, Sam, you come across as being so unlikable and uninteresting that you have to do this as a gotcha, and then you're like, yeah, we got him. It's like, who's impressed by this? I wanted to hear the debate about like the COVID studies. That sounded interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan's first answer there didn't sound very compelling. I mean, it was kind of a point for Crowder's position anyway.
Yeah.
It was like, did you know the Spartan authorities believe this nonsense? It's like, yeah, exactly. So we don't listen to the authorities. We look up what's true.
Well, that's actually a great point. I didn't even think of that.
Your opening argument kind of destroyed yourself, but okay.
But the point is, he wouldn't address. Crowder asked a very reasonable question. It's like, okay, so there's a plurality of studies. I think we should read them all and come to our own conclusions. And Ethan, what's your point? And he's like, Spartans were gay.
Well, no, they were pedos.
Oh yeah, gay pedos. Yeah, even worse. And it's like, okay, that's a good reason not to follow the authorities. You're right. But then,
I mean, Crowder could have just turned around and be like, yeah, and if the CDC comes out and says that's good for your health, are you going to do it?
yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. But of course, they snuck Sam Cedar in there. But again, like the position that Sam Cedar's in is totally embarrassing because he's the butt of the joke and he doesn't seem to realize it. It's like, oh look, no one wants to talk to Sam Cedar, but we snuck him on. And it's like, okay, and it's like we got him to face me and so disconnect the call. It's like, that's not a win, Sam. That makes you look like a disgusting, untouchable property that no one wants to have anything to do with.
Who is he? I don't know.
He's just some progressive commentator that no one watches.
Oh, is it just because he's in bad faith?
Yeah, totally bad faith on
Okay.
everything all the time, which is why no one wants to have anything to do with him. But yeah, so this was meant to be some sort of huge win for the left. I'm like, okay, this is your huge wins. That's sad, because you just come across as deeply embarrassing. But then Ethan gives the perfect example of why he's a brainlet. Let's play the next clip.
Look, I do a political show every day. It's
Yeah,
dry,
I don't.
it's boring,
It's obvious.
and you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's
so if he
afraid.
wants to debate the issues, what's the difference between me and anybody in the world?
What?
That's such a dumb point, right?
What? The
He's
debate was
literally-
about your position.
His argument is that I'm a comedian, and I don't know anything about politics, and therefore I'll get someone who knows about politics. And then he's like, yeah, so what's the difference between debating me and anyone else in the world? Ethan, you're an idiot. Like, you're an absolute idiot. You're supposed to be arguing that you don't know about this, and saying there's no difference between you and anyone else means that you do. But anyway, so Crowder went and released the full thing, which I watched, and I found this very funny because literally just before they end up getting the call hooked up, Crowder sat there doing a mic check, and he's like, yeah, so he's going to try and bring on Sam Cedar, I bet. Let's watch.
Right. All right, let me check this. Check 1, 2, 3. Good? All right. Okay, you guys are going to call him and sound check him? Yeah. I bet this guy's going to do anything he can to avoid actually debating. Yeah. I think he wants to do anything that he possibly can to avoid.
Yeah, let me know when you want to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Wait, when you want me to admit him into the room, I'll just do that.
Sure. Well, I'll just say you guys do the sound check. I don't want to sit there and talk with their producer Dan and stuff, but I don't think this guy wants to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's probably going to bring someone else on. Was his producer like a fan of that Cedar character? Yeah, that'd be my bet. But hey, hopefully he mans up. Okay, you can do your sound check.
Alrighty, here we go.
So he literally predicts that he's going to try and sneak on Sam Cedar, and then of course, that's what happens. So Crowder releases the DMs that he had with Ethan, and the thing is, this is why Ethan, he doesn't seem to understand just how bad he looks, because of course this wouldn't be something I think that Crowder would normally do. But basically, it begins with Ethan Klein messaging Stephen, going, hey, I'm down for a debate. Could be fun. Maybe since about COVID, since the Fauci mask thing started this all. I'm open, though. Let me know how you want to do it. And Crowder's replies going, okay, that sounds great. No tricks, no zags, just you and me. And Ethan agrees, and they set it up. Okay, sounds great at the end.
Crowder even says that I'll make sure that none of my buddies are in the studio to be any kind of distraction.
Yeah. So Crowder is clearly just saying, well, look, I want to have an actual debate from a left-wing position to the right-wing position on the COVID pandemic. Nothing untoward. And before he brings on Sam Cedar, he obviously lays out a very sensible and fair assessment of the situation. Ethan, what's your opinion? And Ethan just, is the pigeon crapping all over the chessboard. And that's exactly what he does. And so you gave me this little Twitter explainer from the left, because this has been wild on Twitter, and I'm just like, look, you guys don't seem to understand. Like, you're embarrassing yourselves. So someone had posted on Reddit, and this had gone fairly well around Twitter. But basically, apparently, Sam Cedar had recorded his show in advance to try and make Crowder, to fool him into thinking that he would be live at the same time. So he was like forced to debate him or something like this. Which, again, I mean, my body, my choice. What happened to that, leftists? My show, my choice. But anyway, so this is how he snuck his way on, and they're like, oh, we got him. But the problem that this is another highlight of the perennial bad faith of the left. It's just Ethan doing exactly what the Conservatives point out, rightly so, that the left is doing wrong. It's not good to do this. It's not good to do this in public, and it makes you look really bad. Which is why all the Conservatives are giving they're giving a moral judgment about Ethan here, and Ethan obviously is an idiot, so he can't understand that. But he spent the first half of the show as well front-loading this by just calling character, racist, sexist, homophobic, blah, 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 smearing his character. And the thing is, I'm not even saying that Crowder is like a man of high character or something, but he at least appears to have approached this in good faith. And they're the openly bad faith. They're being absolute scum, and they're just like, okay, well, this is our victory because we were scummy to Stephen Crowder. How's that a win? How is that a win? And so the question is, okay, well, why not debate Sam Cedar? It's like, well, good question. Sam's not exactly a great debater. He's also renowned for his bad faith, which is why so few people are willing to engage him.
If I'd book a debate with someone and someone else turns up in their place, I would be annoyed enough to leave, regardless of who the person was, to be honest.
But the thing is, even then, there are ways of doing this. You can say, look, sorry, so-and-so couldn't make it.
I think Crowder's way of leaving was weird as well. The fact that because he's incredibly calm for that opening slot, right? And then he gets a bit uppity.
We'll talk about Crowder in a minute. Okay. I'll go through the condemnation of Ethan first, because this is just embarrassing. So it's genuinely pathetic. So I haven't been involved in any sort of Twitter dramas for a long time, obviously, or any YouTube dramas. So watching this after like going away and doing real work is just an embarrassing thing, right? So this bad faith attitude that comes out of the left is obviously why so few people are willing to engage certain leftists. Sam Cedar is just not relevant. Nobody watches his show, and everyone has been making this point, and that is true. And are you saying that you should engage with someone if they've got a big show? No, but if it's someone who's got an obvious bad faith approach, and they're just doing it to try and get you, and it's very obvious that that's all they're going to do. They're not here to debate the issues. They're just going to be slimy about it, and they're just going to try and trick you. Why would you waste your time? Why would you give them a platform? But and moreover, Crowder shouldn't be rewarding this kind of behaviour with his attention. Like, if this person's going to act like a spoilt child, you don't reward that. I wouldn't reward my children with that. I would punish my children if they were acting this way.
So yeah, I mean, if there's a content creator or debater, let's say, who's openly being, God, what's the right word?
Disingenuous.
Deceitful.
Deceitful, yes.
Then why would you engage with them?
That's exactly right. And so the question is one of personal conduct, which is what Cedar keeps violating and offending against, and this is why no one wants to have anything to do with Sam Cedar. And he's also insanely boring, and his argumentation style is just dishonest. But
I mean, even if it wasn't him, if it was just some faceless, nameless person, let's say, who's got no baggage whatsoever, it's like, well, very sorry, but I booked this interview with Ethan.
Yes, and we'll get to that in a second. But the thing is, if for some reason no one will go and talk to Crowder apart from Sam Cedar, because everyone is well aware of Sam Cedar's fundamental dishonesty, and it's like, okay, well, if no one wants to talk to Sam Cedar because of the kind of person that he has demonstrated himself repeatedly to be, why can't the left find a good faith interlocutor to present to Crowder? I mean, he thought he was getting one in Ethan Klein, which a bit short-sighted in retrospect, wasn't it? But why can't the left find someone who is good faith to go and debate and destroy Stephen Crowder? And it's because their narratives on everything are terrible. obviously terrible. Like, uncritically believe scientists is a bizarro position to adopt. I mean, you would never say that in any other time, in any other place. And no scientist would ever say uncritically believe scientists. So, or at least a real scientist. So it's unbelievable, an indefensible position. And it also contradicts everything the left's saying. Don't the left believe in unconscious bias anymore? A scientist unbiased all of a sudden? That's been the main leftist attack against objective science for the last 10 years. Is science no longer a white supremacist endeavour? Have we worked out how the shaman calls the lightning? I'm sorry, there's so much here that Crowder could have whacked them on. And then you get on to Ethan's behaviour on Twitter afterwards. And this is just the pigeon. Ethan's pigeon brain coming out and dunking all over his own chessboard, right? I mean, look at this. Dear Crowder, you claim to be against communism, yet you get publicly owned. You didn't publicly own anything, Ethan. You are self-owning yourself by posting this nonsense. The next one, Ethan as a Trojan horse. Like, literally, like, this is not the win that you think it is.
God. I can already, predict some of the comments as well. So, I mean, him being sneaky. The fact that he's getting Sam Cedar here.
Not the win that you think it is, Ethan. No matter what the Twitter echo chamber tell you.
Not what I do to myself. But.
Yeah, that's not something to be proud of. Right? Say Ethan Klein, Trojan horse, liar, is not the win you're looking for, right? And the next one, I love this one. Like so this episode of Family Guy, they've animated it so it's like Crowder and Klein. But in this episode of Family Guy, the dad is bullying the son, and the son finds a bigger bully and punches the dad. But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. Ethan went to Steven and said, hey, do you want a debate? Like, Crowder wasn't bullying Ethan Klein. It's not like Ethan Klein doesn't have YouTube channels with millions of subscribers anyway. Sorry, American Dad, not Family Guy, obviously. But it's like, okay, that's not what's happening, Ethan. And again, it isn't making you look good. It makes you look weak and pathetic that you need someone else's help to deal with Steven Crowder. A person that you consider to be an idiot. I mean, they spent all their time going, oh yeah, Steven Crowder's stupid. He didn't do anything. Like, well, go give him some then. No, I've got to get Sam Cedar. Why? But what this though is absolutely the best one, right? Jeremy from the Quartering says, now I've seen the level of slime Ethan applied to all of the left's massive cope last night. It all makes sense. They're so desperate to call this a win, and it's just pathetic for everyone. Correct. This is not a win for anyone, right? And we'll get on to Crowder in a minute. But Ethan's response, I just peed in my basement, is that the new pigeon crapping on the chessboard, Ethan? Like, you're just leftists peeing in their basement. That's what happens when you debate them or try to debate them. They just go and pee in their own basements for some reason, Ethan. Like, debasing yourself like this is not impressing anyone, surely. But and then the next one is, but Crowder surprises people. Yeah, sometimes he'll approach people on the street and say, have you got anything to say about this? But that's not a pre-existing arrangement, is it?
So this is the ones where they've threatened his life or something like that. And he's like, can you stand up for this?
Yeah.
Do you agree with your own statements or not?
Yeah. But it's not, I agreed to have a debate with...
He didn't message the SJW professor here to meet up for coffee or something and have a debate in good faith and all the rest of it, and then turn up and say, do you stand by your death threats?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It's not the same thing. And so really what this comes down to is the fact that Ethan made an agreement with Crowder. And this is what the Conservatives should be really highlighting. He made an agreement with him. He said that it appeared to be in good faith with Crowder, that,
gentleman's agreement, let's have a debate, no tricks.
Exactly. Fundamentally, he broke a promise. That's what it comes down to. He betrayed this agreement. This is not what an honourable person does. It's openly deceitful, what Ethan Klein has done. And he's done it specifically to try and play the big man on Twitter, which is an ironic statement at the very best of times. There's no such thing as playing the big man on Twitter. But even then, it's a big self-own for anyone who is a human. So it's weird. It's, reveling in his own debasement. I peed in my basement. Okay, Ethan, why would anyone give you the time of day?
Especially if you're going to Crowder. I mean,
Yeah. So, the last thing is weird and gross. And the thing is, the worst example of, a father that I can think of, and apparently Ethan Klein is going to be a father. So, great example for your kids. But Steven Crowder, I think, could have approached this in totally a different way. If he had strong suspicions in advance that Ethan was going to try and sneak in Sam Cedar, why did he seem so nervous? Right, there is a nervous thing here. Now, I think it's down to him worried about the public spectacle of the thing that has happened, and the worst happened here. I don't think it's actually that he's afraid of defending his own position here, because his own position is really solid. You would have to be a genuine sort of party man to be like, oh, you can't question the science. That it's just so anti-scientific. It's such a ridiculous position that I don't see how Crowder could have lost that. So I don't know why Crowder was so upset about it, but I think it's because he felt like he was being attacked and undermined and various other things, so he got kind of nervous about it. But he really should have approached it with just like a more centered view. He should have well, after Ethan was like, oh, well, what about the Spartans being gay boy lovers? You should have been like, Ethan, can you just answer the question just calmly?
Well, I mean, if that's the answer to the question, I mean, as we said, that's a terrible argument. That's actually an argument for Stephen's position.
But that's not the answer to the question. So why should we just believe the scientists? Oh, do you know the Spartans boy lovers?
When Sam came on, I would have thought the most advantageous thing to do would just been calmly like, hey Sam, I booked this with Ethan. I don't
exactly.
Want to talk to you.
But I think with Stephen is that there was an emotional, and I think with a lot of Conservatives, when you make these kind of gentlemen's agreements, there's an expectation and there's an emotional investment in them, even if it's small and even if it's with an enemy. There is something there, and for some reason Crowder was very upset by all this, and I don't know why. He should have just calmly been like, right, okay, that's not the answer to the question, Ethan. Do you have an answer to the question?
Yep.
And if Ethan had shat the bed some more, he would have gone like, okay, that's not an answer to the question. Do you have one? And then when Sam Cedar would come in, he'd be like, okay, Sam, why are you here? Oh, I've come to debate you. He's like, yeah, but I didn't invite you, Sam. Just the Conservatives need to learn how to fall back on propriety. It is improper for Sam Cedar to be there. You shouldn't be there. Sam, I didn't invite you. Why are you here?
In fact, explicitly in the organisation of that, he said, no tricks, just have a
exactly.
chat.
I said to Ethan, no tricks. You're here as part of a trick. Why are you here, Sam? And like Sam could have been like, I want to debate you on COVID, or I don't care. Why are you here? I'm not what are you here to do? Why did you come? Why did you think I was going to engage with you? I'm not talking to you in this way because this is openly disrespectful to me. It is improper. You owe me an apology now, Sam. You see how suddenly, all of this, suddenly Crowder would then be grounded in conservative propriety and be able to tell Sam Cedar he's a bad person and be like, sorry, we're just going to get rid of you. If Ethan wants to talk, he can come back, but I'm not debating you. Or the alternative, he could have debated Sam Cedar and be like, look, these are just the positions, and if you disagree with them, I don't think you're correct, and I think you're lying, frankly, because that's the kind of person you are. And he could have easily routed them, I think, on their own terms. And it's unfortunate that he was a bit of a nervous wreck, really. But and I say this as someone who likes Crowder.
It's difficult to say what you would do in that situation.
It is.
Everyone's looking at hindsight, and it's always great.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's very easy to talk about these things, armchair generally in hindsight.
Yeah, but it was a poor position.
It was a poor position.
I would imagine Jordan Peterson, with a man like that who's dealt with so much more stress than anything like this, would have been able to easily do that.
I mean, I've been in stressful debate positions like that, and so it's easy for me to be like, yeah, well, this is what you should have done. But I think this is genuinely something that the Conservatives need to be aware of. That you're not going to get good faith interpretations of the leftists. So
and when they break that, if you
call them,
if you're prepared in advance,
yeah. Exactly. End it. Bring it to the halt and make sure that you're sat there judging them. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.